Good tidings, nature fans. I trust that you are prepared. Our planet Earth is really astonishing. It is home to probably the most pleasant, entrancing, and stunning scenes, creatures, and horticulture. Notwithstanding this excellence, Mother Earth likewise has a monstrous and, surprisingly, lethal side in this video. We will cover the absolute most perilous, concealed places that nature brings to the table. To start this route through nature, we will be beginning with the passing street situated in Bolivia. I'm certain we can all partake in a pleasant excursion abroad anyway. This specific stretch of street in Bolivia ought to be kept away from no matter what. This unnerving track moves to a level of 15,500 ft above ocean level, twisting along a sheer stone wall. There are places where the street is just 10 ft wide and no gatekeeper rails protect you from the startling 2,000 fall damp breezes from the adjoining rainforest, cause successive rainstorms and landslides, while the severely kept up with track mists, dust checking out why this region is known as Death Street, even with its standing for being deadly. Many daring people actually use the street. It was habitually essential for trucks to pass each other, which left one vehicle unsafely near the edge of the thin track. Somewhere in the range of 300 and 400 people each year died in the mid-1990, subsequent to failing to keep a grip on their vehicle and falling into the gap underneath. Luckily, the Bolivian government built an advanced, more secure course in 2005, and most vehicles currently pick to utilize it presently. Moving quickly on to our next area, we will visit Snake Island, which intently borders Brazil, to make a trip to this island. Off the shoreline of Brazil, you would need to be very unreasonable. Albeit formally called as Ilha Doad, Grande Snake Island is the most well-known and a lot more startling name. A mass of around 4,200 venomous scenes can be found squirming underneath the coverings, simply prepared to suck travelers with their sharp teeth. This specific types of snakes are brilliant L-heads, an uncommon assortment of pit snake that is universally viewed as one of the deadliest in all of Latin America. The destructive hemotoxins in their toxin cause the tissue they chomp to gradually liquefy away, killing red platelets and bringing about death in under an hour. An inquiry that even I pose to myself is the manner by which the snakes at first came to the island, well preceding being cut off from the central area by a few centuries of expanding ocean levels. Snake Island was essential for the Brazilian coast, with such countless seabirds to devour and no compromising hunters. Around the abandoned snakes thrived and duplicated to terrifying extents. Guests are never in excess of a couple of feet from a crawling enemy, with the ebb and flow gauge of brilliant spearhead populaces being somewhere in the range of 1 and 6 for each square meter on the island. The Brazilian naval force has appropriately precluded any human guests to Wind Island, except for specialists carrying out essential groundwork, because of the outrageous gamble included. I really want to believe that all of you valued the South American hint to my voice I carried out on that one. Now we will visit the Skeleton Coast arranged in Namibia. The northern piece of Namibia's Atlantic coast is a notorious stretch of ocean sideline, and for valid justification, visiting Portuguese sailors called it the Doors of Misery in the 16th century. The Namibian outside bushmen alluded to it as the land god made in pain, and it is better known by its seriously chilling epithet, the Skeleton Coast. Truly, the Namib Desert is a colossal and cruel locale where it is essentially difficult to find drinkable water. So you could be passed on with two decisions: compel yourself to drink seawater or pass on from thirst, as though that weren't terrible enough. There are horrible hunters, like cheetah jackals, hyenas. Furthermore, desert lions hiding in the hills, simply standing by to devour any ill-fated soul. The Skeleton Coast gets its name from the fated bones of their prey dispersed all through the sand. There's something else to this destructive shore mystery proceeding to journey over its brilliant rises, and you'll happen upon the rusted remaining parts of around 1,000 wrecks. This region's waters are famously deadly because of their predominant flows, lowered rocks, murky haze, and awful blasts, since ships have been going ground on the shore for hundreds Of years, the gathering of startling wrecks has kept on developing, so no drinking water, lethal hunters, and brutal waves seems like an ideal getaway to me, creating some distance from a dry desert. We will currently visit a water-based area, Lake Karachay in Russia to be precise. Lake Karachay is an illustration of a lake that can plainly kill you. It is feasible to bite the dust from lung contamination by simply balancing out on the banks. For several hours, the lake was consumed by the Soviet Association as a radioactive waste dump from the Lining atomic waste stockpiling plant, the Mayak plant, between 1952 and 1954. The virus that came about, Ed, was extreme to such an extent that Lake Karachay was dedicated the most tainted area on Earth by the U.S.-based Natural Exploration Bunch. The World Watch Foundation researchers utilize a measurement referred to as SE-verts, which goes about as a gauge for the serious well-being outcomes of radiation on the body to decide exactly how dangerous Lake Karach is. Human openness to 1 SE is adequate to bring about serious sickness. Lake Karach supposedly delivered 5.6 deadly seats each hour during testing. In 1992, this was anticipated to kill you in around 45 minutes. Concrete has been added to the lake in endeavors to decrease radiation starting around 2014. By the by, researchers gauge that the Soviet Association's savvy decision to dump radioactive waste into Lake Karachay has defiled roughly 1 billion gallons of groundwater. This is very drawback, ML to neighborhood populaces. Salabinskin, a close-by district, has seen floods in the predominance of different tumors, notwithstanding a 41% increment in leukemia for our next area. We bounce 5,000 miles across the globe to the Danil Sadness, situated in Ethiopia, frequently named perhaps of the most one-of-a-kind and peculiar region on planet Earth. Northwest Ethiopia has an odd climate with glowing yellow holes and dark green channels that look like that of an idealistic radioactive. No man's land anyway. Don't allow its outsider excellence to delude you. This perfect volcanic plain is attempting to butcher you in each strategy. Comprehensible, the Danakil gloom is arranged at the gathering point of 3 profoundly versatile structural plates on the grounds that, of their development, the region routinely encounters extreme quakes, and the subsequent cracks in the ground take steps to immerse clueless guests. The climate is overflowing with the great fragrance of spoiled eggs because of these breaks regurgitating forward. Concentrated billows of harmful sulfur and chlorine gases, the arrangement of natural aquifers with cooking waters warmed by the layer of liquid magma is one more side effect of the powerful structural plate development. The water's minerals are warmed by the magma coming about in an amazing scene of precious stone establishments and diverse salt shells. These pools can arrive at temperatures of up to 230 degrees Fahrenheit. As though that wasn't, each of the 2 dynamic volcanoes can be found in the Danakil despondency at the pinnacle of one of the Volak no-period Ale. There's a fuming magma lake that discontinuously spills over and destroys anything. It contacts the Danakil gloom, is a lovely piece of nature and an extraordinary illustration of looks that can really kill for our next area. I believe that you should envision yourself on a ravishing and segregated tropical island. There's sun, sand, palm trees, and a mammoth substantial vault loaded with radioactive pieces. Obviously, this is the novel element that can be situated on Runit Island, situated in the Marshall Islands. This island is explicitly situated in the Pacific Sea among Hawaii and the Philippines from 1947 to 1959. The U.S. military involved the Marshall Islands as test-proving grounds for 68 atomic bombs, making irreversible obliteration the general climate. Over 60 years after the fact, parts of the locale are still feeble. A 2019 concentrate by Columbia College scientists found that the swimsuit atoll, a coral reef situated on Runit Island, is roughly multiple times more radioactive than Chernobyl, as a way to endeavor to tidy up Runit Island. The U.S. military covered radioactive waste inside a 360 FT substantial vault in the late 1970s. Tragically, The lifespan of this construction was not thought of, and it is now beginning to break down further, jeopardizing the close-by biological system. For our next competitor, we visit a portion of nature that is worldwide. Scandalous and perceived for its risk and secret, the famous Bermuda Triangle is one of the most notable secrecies on the planet, predetermined between Miami, Bermuda, UDA, and Puerto Rico. Satan's Triangle is the site where individuals' boats and planes dissipate. All of a sudden, enormous boats and current air lanes have vanished. Without a follow, as indicated by the two scientists and scheme scholars, unexpected vanishings are brought about by vigorous rebel waves that can arrive at a level of up to 150 ft, obliterating all traces of a boat or airplane. The Bermuda Triangle is the most spiritualist and paranormal area on Earth. No matter what the reason, this area is obscure, to such an extent that there is no extra data I can give. There are extremely restricted web or examination sources that can give a conceivable clarification to the dim story behind the Bermuda Triangle. Our next spot is so baffling and neglected that Public Geographic delivered an hour-long narrative stressing the cavern's marvels and risks when the three researchers landed at the popular Nicas Mountains cave in the Chihuahua Desert situated in Mexico. They arranged for an extensive investigation. Probably the biggest and most gorgeous gems on the planet can be situated on this Mexican mountain, regardless of whether an excursion to this cavern can be both exciting and maybe life-changing. You might be considering what makes this exceptional area so hazardous underneath the cavern streams. Singing hot magma and the mugginess and environmental temperature are perfect to such an extent that the scientists needed to enter the cavern in a cutting-edge evidence. Furthermore, oxygen-giving suit, one of the specialists who visited the Ndedele Precious Stone Cavern, expressed that even with the suit on, you can feel your body drying out. The subsequent you enter this outsider climate, you will begin to feel weak and light as you travel through the solidified gap, genuinely both euphoric and freezing, to investigate our next area. We head back to Africa to visit a strikingly lethal waterway. This quiet yet deadly lake ended up being considerably more tricky than researchers originally assumed. Lake Nyos, situated in Cameroon, Focal Africa, seemed like an innocuous, striking lake lined by little towns from the get-go. Nobody could expect this tactful, blue, and curious lake to be something other than a mere of water. Yet the story changed on one critical August night in 1985. A raised wellspring of water began erupting out of Lake Neon. The wellspring before long delivered a silver haze of gas which developed higher. Constantly, it arrived at 400 ft in level and spread over the close. By town's occupants before long began to black out the gas. Was distinguished as B carbon dioxide at powers more noteworthy than 16%. Carbon dioxide can be harmful, and on that August night in excess of 1,800 neighborhood locals were killed. CO2 is much of the time put away under lakes and encompassing rocks. Rock S for a really long time when a fountain of liquid magma emits it delivers hazardously high amounts of carbon dioxide. This mixture can go through rocks and gradually disintegrate in the groundwater. Assuming this occasion happens close to a lake, carbon dioxide ultimately immerses the water, passing on it to be deadly. While most instances of broken up, submerged carbon dioxide upswing arrive at the surface and at last disintegrate in the air. This didn't occur till Lake Neo's poison gas stayed caught until something set off its delivery, bringing about the grievous passing of numerous. For our last area, we will be taking an undertaking to Mount Washington, U.S. of America. It is by and large famous that the tallest mountain on the planet, Mount Everest, is likewise the most misleading mountain on Earth. Mount Washington in New Hampshire is named the world's most unsafe little mountain. It is a climb as damnation, albeit no other large pinnacle can contrast with the astonishing level and intricacy of a spot like Mount Everest. Mount Washington bears a huge title. However, for what reason is this pinnacle especially hazardous? It's the fierce breezes and not the level. In April 1933, Mount Washington recorded the quickest at any point. Wind speed 230 mph. Climbing turns out to be exceptionally difficult. Even at 60 mph wind speeds, Mount's areas of strength for Washington and cold temperatures work at the same time to exist fuel. The gamble of hypothermia. Mount Washington is very unsafe to visit because of its consistently high snowfall and harsh temperatures, which can reach as low as 42 degrees F. Explorers who believe this top to be conquerable embrace far and wide exploration prior to setting out on their excursion that could only be described as epic. Watchful calculations should be performed to guarantee that the excursion begins in suitable climate with in excess of 160 passings detailed since starting around 1850. It is critical to leave on such an undertaking with the greatest amount of association and basis, and that is all there is to it. Pilots, we have reached the last of the perilous areas that we will cover today. These wonderful and tremendously destructive areas exhibit the reach, superbness, and force of nature's most legendary areas. I would be intrigued to know which of these savages was your power to one.